Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be the video where we finish the console and we put it in the boat. No more building it, no more stages. We're going to go through all of that in this video, and I'm not going to make it a 30-minute video. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to show you all the steps I did to get to that point. But obviously I'm going to be leaving out a lot of the sanding and some of the fairing. I did redo some fairing when I laid out my second coat of primer, but I had my camera on stills. Rookie mistake, I apologize. So I was showing you guys basically some low spots that I filled with fairing. So this video is going to get into it, we're going to get into it from that point, and then just kind of take you through all the steps of the second coat of primer, cutting in the front hatch, and rolling out the 2 coats of wet edge white and mounting it in the boat. So you're going to see the boat ready to go to the marina to have our motor put on. Been a long time coming, getting super excited, and we've reached that point. So I'm not going to bore you with a lot of chatter. We're just going to get into it. So we're going to pick it up from right after I did my second coat of fairing after the first coat of primer. All right, so here's what it looks like when we're done. Like I showed you before, these low spots are the darker green, okay, because that's where the fairing compound settled into the spot it needed to be, and I just level it off with the spackle knife. And I had, believe it or not, I had a lot left over, so I went ahead and just kind of skin coated this whole dash and on this side, because I thought there was a lot of, it was coarse. So as opposed to the rest of the console, I just gave this a little bit more fairing, just to give the primer more of a chance to set up on it and just cover everything. But the rest of it was all spots, just areas I needed to touch up. Again, you could see these dark areas here. Okay, those were some low spots, some gaps, areas I wanted to fill in. So over here as well, you know, in the transitions you get a little bit of, you know, sometimes you just get an area that didn't lay flat. Down here in the corner needed a little bit of work, and then a couple of touch-up spots here. The top I faired the whole thing, as you saw in the video, but I realized quick I didn't need to do that. That was making more work for myself, so that's what I did. And again, I had a ton left over, so I skinned the whole front of the console just to use it. I didn't want to throw it away. So if this looks significantly different than the rest, I'll go ahead and do that on the other ones. But I've done that before and it wasn't a problem. So that's where we're at. We're going to let that cure, and then we're going to come back and then we're going to roll out a thicker coat of primer, and then that's going to probably get us to top coating. Okay, just a little quick walk around. We're outside. I don't want to get the shop filled with dust. Just gonna hit all these areas that I faired. Get them nice and level. I'm gonna use some 320 on this. I am gonna use the palm sander. Usually for this kind of thing, I don't wanna go crazy with, I don't wanna go crazy using a sander, like an orbital sander, but the palm sander does a nice job, doesn't take a lot of stuff off, and I can work quick, and the object is to just get it nice and smooth, and then we're going to roll out that thicker coat of primer. So I'm going to get the sanding. I'm going to do that off camera because, again, you guys don't want to watch me sand. All right, you've already seen that 1,000 times. So we're going to get this done and get it ready for the second coat, and I'll show you how I mix up that thicker coat of primer. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, she's all sanded up. All right, so we're back from the latest round of sanding, and unfortunately probably not the last, but making progress nonetheless. So here's what we have. Okay, as you can see, all the heavier fairing spots are all blended in and smooth. That to the touch is smooth. I mean, this couldn't be better. I'm very happy with this, and I think primer is going to really finish that off. So, if you're wondering why I'm still outside and I have it propped up like I do, is because I just got a delivery and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this. So we're going to go ahead and put that in now. So we're going to cut one more big hole in there. Once again, Jimmy, I am sorry, but we're going to cut a big hole in the front of this console. Okay, much like the hatch in the back, as you've seen, I'm going to find my center. Okay, but I want to favor it on the lower side because I don't want the hatch to be a ramp when I open it, because then if it's too much of an angle, that's a stress point on the hinges, and that's more of a probability for failure, breaking off, and I have to replace it. So we're going to try to find the proper even spot right here on the front of the console, where we're going to be same distance from each side, measuring down from the top and sufficient from the bottom, avoiding all the framing, same as last time. Okay, so what I've gone ahead and done is took a piece of cardboard and I taped it to the back of this hatch because I'm going to make a template. It didn't come with a template, so we make a template. So by taping it to the sides, it's covering the entire opening. So basically, you flip it over, and now you can trace your template. Sorry if my head was blocking it for a second there, I didn't realize it. But very simple. Tape it to the back, it won't move, it'll stay exactly where you want it, and now you have yourself a perfect guide to cut a template out. Just that simple. Okay? And just that amount of time, we have a template. We're going to cut this out, and then we could lay this on the console. I can move, I can measure, I could tape it, and I'm going to show you when I get back over there. I'm not going to talk about it. Just easier if I cut this to shape, and then I'll bring you over to the console and show you exactly why I did this. Okay, so we took a piece of tape. It's like another hand to hold our template in place. I can already tell that I'm a little favoring over on this side. Okay, so basically we want to see how far off we are. 5 1/4, about 6 1/2. Okay, so we pull that off. We can come over to about 5 1/2. 5 3/4 is going to be where I think we need to be. Okay. I know she's a little off kilter, but we're really just trying to figure out how far apart we need to be. So I need to come about 1/8 of an inch to the left. Okay, so now I know I can mark where my center will be. And this is just going left to right. Okay. Tape is getting a little tired. Give me one more minute. Okay. Just about even there. We are the same. So we found our center. Okay, we now know that we want to be in between these lines. Okay, now we want to make sure that we are level, and that we can do by this bottom. Here's my straight edge. This is straight too. I'm not doubting my work, but I know this is a lot straighter, so we'll definitely check that. So that same 3 and just a little or less than 3 1/2. So we need to come up a smidge, about 3 1/4 there. So needs to come up a little bit more. So between our lines, okay. So now we know that these two lines are our center. This is the width of our hatch opening. Now what we want to do is make sure that we're even on the bottom. We know we have a piece of framing under here. It's about to here. So I want to be just above it. I don't mind the flange being here because that's a lot more meat for it to grab. But I want it to be, and I'd rather have it on the lower side because again, I don't want a slope. I don't want a sloping lid because that's going to put stress points on it if I was to ever lean on it by accident. And then I have a broken hatch and I'm ripping it out and replacing it. So what we'll do is we're going to mark 3 inches up from the bottom, and that's going to be our bottom line, and then the top will be where the top will be. So there we go. Front hatch cut in, fits perfect. I only had to trim it up in one spot, so pretty happy with my attempt. But we're good, we're functional. Okay. Shut. And it's in there nice and good. It's nice and tight. And we'll screw that down when they're done rigging up the motor. We don't want to put it on until the motor's in. Make it easier on those guys. But there you go. Front hatch installed. Access to rigging, access to batteries. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so gonna go ahead and wipe this down. Go mix up some primer. We're going to roll this thing out with a second coat because we're going to get to painting it, and that's going to be the final stretch. And then after that, it goes in the boat. So yes, let's do that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and wiped it all down, and I can already tell you this area is very, very smooth. So pretty excited to see how this second layer of primer is going to go on this part. Over here it is a bit grainy where I didn't put primer, but we're going to see how it builds it up. Again, not opposed to a third coat if I have to tomorrow. Alright, so we went ahead and mixed all our epoxy up. It's all inducted, and we're definitely going to be rolling out a thicker coat here, so let's see how we do. Coat number 2. Rest of it out, and I can tell you right now, I like it. I'm happy with it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it's covering nice, and it's definitely thicker. I can feel that it's filling in better. Obviously I did a little more fairing over here, but happy with it for the most part. Let's check out this side area. Okay, this area here didn't use fairing on. I mean, I did in spots, but not all the way across. So let's see how this fills in. And I can already tell you, it is filling it in. So that's perfect. I can see the grain disappearing as I roll this on, and that's what I was looking for. I mean, I could have definitely faired this whole thing, but it would have been a lot of work, a lot of detail sanding. I certainly don't need to do any more sanding, but obviously part of something like this. But that area right there, now that's all filling in. I can see it now. Like, there's some areas that are low, some areas are filled in. So the primer's doing its job. And if I have to, I'll put a third coat on. But I definitely know that that third coat would wipe it out completely because it's pretty much gone right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and roll this whole thing out, and I'll bring you back when I'm done and show you what I have. All right, so there's coat 2 of the primer rolled out. And here you can see this is the area where I did a lot of fairing, and it came out really, really nice. And so did this. This is perfect too. This is good. I will sand this smooth. I have some ideas for how I'm going to dress up the sides of the console anyway, so happy with how it looks. It's definitely going to look great with paint on it. So we're done priming. So I'm pretty happy with that. So those really are the two big areas. The rest of it just looks like it did when I did the first coat. Just a little bit deeper of a color. So yeah. So that's going to be it for today. We're going to come back tomorrow and we're going to roll in some paint. Okay, so we have our wet edge. This is what I used to paint the hull. I have about half a quart left, so I'm going to roll out the console with as many coats as I need of this wet edge paint to give it the white color that I want. I'm not going to be thinning it out because I fiberglassed this console from raw wood and I want good coverage. I'm not worried about setup time. I have about 60 degrees in here right now, so it's not overly hot. It isn't humid in here at all too. We have the heater on, so it's nice and dry in here, so it should cure nice. I know it does not like humidity, so if you're painting it outside, you want to make sure that you're going to let it cure and dry inside where it's not going to be humid. So we're going to go ahead and crack this open. I did check this a while back and it was still good. I bought this back in November of last year and I kept it inside. You know, paints like these, the price that you pay for them, you know, leaving them outside, letting them get cold, it's never a good idea, although you can if you're going to use it, it's probably okay. But I can see that I'm good, so yeah. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up real good, and then we're going to get going on. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up, and we're going to get ready to roll out some paint. Okay. Ooh, not good. It's always nice when you start rolling out your color, kind of, you know, you see what the finished product's gonna look like. Obviously, we're still quite a ways from that, but heading in the right direction and moving along, so that always feels good. So, it's getting warmer out, and I am itching to get out on the water, so with this boat getting its motor in the next couple of weeks, I'm looking to take it right out and get it on the water, do some test runs, break it in, and then just start using it. You guys have been watching me work on it for so long. Looking so forward to actually putting this thing to use. Makes all this sanding and stuff worthwhile. So we'll go ahead and finish rolling out this front area for you guys. It's the first coat. It's definitely going to need a couple of more at least. Okay, first coat is done. No more tan, or off-white as they call it, for the primer. But we have a coat on there and it looks amazing. Setting up nice, nothing's running. And again, we'll give it a nice sand when it's fully cured. So a little bit of an overview here. I hope that's coming out good. But that is what we're working with. Okay, as you can see, we have the console in the boat, okay? And obviously the most important aspect right now is to make sure it is positioned exactly where I want it to be. So what I've gone ahead is I put it over my taped outline as you saw earlier, and I measure from each corner. So from here it's 12 and a half, 12 and a half, and we'll taper a little bit up here. It's between 12 and a quarter and 12 and a quarter. So we are exactly 12 and a quarter inches from each side on the front, 12 and a half from each side on the back. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw some lines so we know exactly where this console is gonna be sitting. I do have a little bit of a issue there, but we'll fix that when we mount it in with the aluminum. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark this up with a Sharpie so I know where it goes, and I can remove it, trace out where my braces are gonna go, and then I can mount them in the boat, and then the console will sit right on top of them, and then we'll have our 4 mounting bolts go in through the side, and we will have our mounting system installed. So now I don't need my tape on here anymore. I can remove my tape when I take the console back out. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and trace some lines on the inside where my mounting hardware is going to be, so I know exactly where to put those when I pull this console out. This probably is going to be the trickiest part of all this. Okay, you can go ahead and see where I've marked my lines on the inside. These are probably the most important lines, since I have to basically mount these those pieces of aluminum to the floor. And I want it in such a way that I could lay this console over them and then screw my 4 bolts in through each side, 2 on each side, through some pre-drilled holes, and that's going to hold this console in place. Locked down. I'm going to be gluing it and screwing it down with 5200, and I'm also going to be using the 610 epoxy in each hole I drill for the mounting screws. So that's the next big trick. So we're going to take this console back out of the boat and start that process. Okay, now we're going to try and find ourselves some good wood in the right spot. Have that. Okay, so we have our 3 holes drilled. I have these 3 washers. This is going to keep everything level. Okay, so when we drive our screw through, these washers will sit under here, and that will keep all of this from being bowed or bent. We want it straight because it's got to line up with our holes that we already drilled out on the console itself for our mounting bracket. So we're looking good here. Line up our holes. We're good. I like it. We put these under here. We might even be able to get away with 2. Yeah, 2 is going to be more than enough to keep that from bowing out and getting everything offline. We want to keep everything straight and aligned. So now that we have that all squared away, okay, I can go ahead and peel this tape away. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean these holes out a little bit. because I'm going to inject each one of these holes with some 610 epoxy. So when I drive these screws in, that epoxy can cure up, hold that screw in there tighter on that wood. And I'm also going to 5200 it in the areas where I need it. That's just going to give me a little extra adhesion, a little insurance policy, so we know that this is never going to come up. So just to be safe though, I am going to dry fit these because I just feel like that's the best play before I start adding epoxies and 5200, and then I'll put the console back in. It's an extra step, it's a little more work, but I will show you that when I come back. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing over here. I'm going to dry mount them in with just the screws, and then we'll go ahead and put the console in. We'll test fit and then make sure we're set, and then we'll be able to make sure, you know, we know these holes are where they're supposed to be. Then we can go ahead and permanently mount everything in, because if I do have to move them in or out, I could always refill these holes and then drill another hole. So this is where I have to be really, really careful and make sure everything lines up right, because this is such an important part of the build. So I'll bring you back when I get the other side done. All right, so we're going to take some of this 610, okay? Basically, that's about all I'm going to need there, okay? And we'll go ahead and mix this up. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and mix up more of it. Not that I have a lot to use, but you know, it's always good to have more than you need. That way you can just keep on applying where it needs to be applied. So, okay, that cap is no longer being cooperative. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mix this up like this. Okay. Get the resin and the hardener all mixed together. Get this nice little amber color. When I initially ordered my materials, I ordered these syringes. And they're great because when you want to put this stuff in some place that's tough to get to, this is how you do it. Now that's probably more than I need for this side, but I'm going to put it all in here because it probably will give me a little bit more time. It's not so airborne. Sorry if I had that off camera. And we just kind of use my stick to just get it down in there. And then you just take your plunger like so, and you push it down. And now you can inject your epoxy into any hole you wish. So that'll help me make my screws have a better seating. And as this cures, it'll cure underneath the deck, into the wood, harden the wood even more, and give me a tighter, stronger bond. And the console has to be that way because, again, I get into a rough sea or a bad weather condition, I'm going to be hanging on to that thing for dear life. So that's what this measure is all about. So we're going to go ahead and shoot these holes up, and then we're going to mount these screws. Okay, so we've gone ahead and test fitted everything. Everything worked out great. Now, we go for a permanent mounting solution. Now I've already measured that 2 of these stainless steel washers will be more than enough to balance the center of this, giving everything a straight layup. So when I lay the console down, it's straight across the support system of the console, which is the framing section that you saw me build last month. So right now we have this flexing. We don't want that because when we cinch down our screw, it's going to deform everything and nothing will line up. So we want to make sure we keep everything straight, just like this is. So that's why it was crucial that we figured out how much we need to support the middle. And obviously we'll 5200 all this down after we inject some 610 in each one of these holes. But the first thing I want to do is make these holes bigger so I can drive my screws through there with a lot more ease. So I'm going to go get a bit big enough to match my set screws that I'm going to use in here. Okay, so this is a bigger bit than what I used. So I'm just going to line it up over my hole. I'm not going to go very deep. I just want to make this hole a little bigger. So okay, that'll make my screw go in a lot easier. All right, so pretty much, as you saw, a bunch of videos back, I filled in all the holes to the rub rail and to the rail inside the boat, which I have said I do not want to put back on the boat. And because I like this to be a skiff, like I say, you know, in every facet of a skiff, I want this to be just that. So moving ahead and going forward, I want to make sure these screws do what they have to do. So I'll line this up like so. Line that one up like so. All right, we're going to see if we get lucky here. Oh, we did. Okay. Now that is on there pretty good. This one stopped, but we'll figure that out in a sec. I don't want to force anything. We don't want anything breaking off, messing all our holes up. All right. Very happy with that bit. So it's fit. It's not moving. It's in there. I haven't mounted it to those braces yet, but it fits. Here is basically my wheel height. So my wheel height's right where I want it to be. I could see over, no problem. If my wife is sitting up front on her beanbag chair, enjoying her favorite cocktail, she won't be obstructing my vision. This thing's gonna function just perfect. So I couldn't be any more happy or stoked that this build worked out the way I hoped it would when I envisioned doing it. So I'm happy with how it fits. We have rolled out 2 coats of paint on it, so you're seeing what it looks like with 2 coats. It's much like I rolled out the first coat. We sanded it up, rolled out the second coat, and it looks great. Are there imperfections? Yes, there are. There are a lot. But again, I've never maintained that I'm an expert at this, but I like it. It looks good. It's smooth. And we're going to do a lot more with this console. We're going to put, I mean, I'm not saying definitely, but I do plan on possibly putting a mahogany dashboard over here just to dress it up a little bit. I have some mahogany trim I want to do on the sides and maybe around the hatches just to give it a little bit of accent, just to offset on the white, and also pick up on the bench, which is, you know, this is all mahogany. It's 3 planks wide, super comfortable. I can really sit back and drive this boat. I could stretch my legs out. I'm going to be super comfortable, and I will have a tilt helm, which I have coming, a mechanical tilt helm. So this wheel will stick out a little bit more, and I could tilt it, and I could literally drive the boat from this position. Put a cushion on here, and I can go all day, every day. So super, super excited. I mean, I don't even need a tilt helm. This would be perfect just like this, but I already ordered a tilt helm, so why give up a good thing? So this video has had a lot of moving parts. And I did that because I didn't want to have so many different console videos. I mean, I know I have a few already, but it was just because these paints take time to dry. The first coat of paint, it took a couple of days to cure. This second coat, I left the heat on in the shop, and it got about 110 in here. So this cooked up real nice and hardened up the way I wanted it to. It did leave a couple of areas I could probably touch up, but that sand and painted area, you guys, I mean, you've seen me do that. So it's nothing that I, need to video. And I didn't want to have more videos on the console build. So console build's done because April 10th, which is only, it is now April 6th. So we're 4 days away from putting a motor on this thing, and we're ready. I mean, you can see everything's here. I'm not going to put the hatches on so they can get in there and rig away. And we're going to go ahead and mount this console in. Like I said, 2 bolts on each side. I'm going to drill and through bolt them. It's not going to be screwed. It'll be through bolted. And that's pretty much how we're going to be mounted in the boat. And I'm pretty confident that this thing is here to stay. So I appreciate you guys watching and following along on this journey, which is, it's starting to... it's starting to come together. It's getting exciting and more. Every time I upload a new video, I'm getting closer and closer to putting this boat in the water and using it. Super excited to do a reveal video when it's all done. There are some, silly little detail things I do want to do before I launch it, like put the rub rail on, the running lights. I will do that, and if I do that, obviously we'll show you how I do that in a video. So again, guys, I appreciate you guys watching and following along and all the great advice and great comments. Appreciate all the love, guys. And all you new subscribers, welcome aboard, and thank you for hitting that subscribe button. And for any of you out there watching, please consider subscribing, hit the button, ring the bell, and you'll be notified when we upload, because we'll be uploading an awful lot once this thing is floating. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you on the next one.